Air Quality Frank here again, and thank you for joining me for another episode of my podcast, You Are What You Inhale. Today we're going to talk a little bit about ventilation. Ventilation, what is ventilation? Ventilation is how much air from outside is coming into an indoor environment and pushing out allergens, toxins, and actually providing you with adequate oxygen to breathe. It's extremely important in the indoor air quality world because poor ventilation causes a lot of things. Poor ventilation causes for chemical off-gassing from paints, furnishings, building materials to increase. It also causes particulates to be higher because it's an accumulation over time. Poor ventilation can also lead to an increase in airborne bacteria, mold spores, viruses when we have a cold, that sort of thing. So adequate ventilation or good ventilation pushes out airborne dust, allergens, bacteria, mold spores when people are sick and spreading their germs everywhere. Proper ventilation can actually help reduce that. It also gives us, like I said, the oxygen that we need to live. And with poor ventilation can lead to us feeling not so well because it does displace oxygen in the bloodstream like carbon monoxide would, but in a different way. Because with poor ventilation, we get an increase in carbon dioxide, which is what we exhale. We exhale CO2, and that is why we use it as a measurement in indoor environments to see how much fresh air is coming in and if the stale air is leaving. So how does this work? In most older buildings that don't have mechanical ventilation systems, here in this condo, this is a newer building, so there's an air handling unit that brings air into the hallways, pressurizes the hallways, brings the air underneath the door of your unit into your suite and goes out the kitchen exhaust or the bathroom exhaust, getting that airflow going. In buildings that don't have that, they would rely more on cracks and crevices in the building envelope or drafty doors and windows. The problem, though, is in older homes, when you go and renovate them and put new windows in, you're cutting off that natural airflow. So where's your oxygen coming from? It can be the same in a condo building or apartment building when they replace windows with newer ones that are draft-free. Now we start to get problems. An indicator that you have poor ventilation, there's a couple of things. In the wintertime, you will get more condensation buildup on windows because the airflow is less, could lead to an increase in humidity, hitting cold surfaces, turning to condensation. You'll also notice odors a lot more. So if you are indoors and you're smelling things when you come home, chances are your ventilation could be a little bit off. So how do we determine that? We can use what's called an air quality monitor that measures carbon dioxide or CO2. I'm using one here today, and I've just been kind of playing around with it all day long, and I will give you a screenshot, but if you can see here on this here, I've been tracking the CO2 levels here in the condo. I've got an air quality measuring device set up here, and we are at about 726 parts per million right now because I shut off all the mechanical ventilation that I have for the suite, made sure all the doors and windows are absolutely thoroughly closed and locked so that there's no outdoor air coming in. And what's been happening this morning, because I've been doing this for the last couple of hours, is I am using up the oxygen here in my suite, replacing it with carbon dioxide coming out of my mouth, and there's no fresh air coming in. So eventually, if I work from home, work out at home, I'm going to start getting tired because I'm not getting enough oxygen, not getting enough air. We are at 726 parts per million right now. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to go actually to this door that is locked. It's locked, can't open it. I'm going to unlock it, and I'm not going to open it. I'm just going to leave it unlocked. So now what I've done is created this slight draft. I can't really feel the draft, a little bit. Not so much that it would make it uncomfortable or lead to a lot of energy loss here in the suite. but I've unlocked it. So the seal is now no longer as tight. And I'm going to watch this for the next hour or two and see if there's a difference. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. That didn't take too long. In a very short time, the carbon dioxide or CO2 levels in this condo, which were approaching 800 parts per million, which is the start of poor air quality. Really, poor air quality is 1,000 parts per million plus. But we were approaching 800, which is the start that we are going to notice issues with either ourselves or with odors and that sort of thing. By just unlocking the door and not quite keeping it open very much, I couldn't even actually feel when I walk over it. I don't really feel a draft. Very slight if I put my hand up to it, but that's bringing oxygen in now, and it is pushing the stale air out to the kitchen exhaust or the bathroom exhaust to the outside. So I'm getting fresh air in now. It's diluting all the pollutants that could be here, giving me oxygen, and dropping the carbon dioxide levels to now we're in the low 600 parts per million, which is where we want to be. Outside is usually anywhere from the high 300s to the low 400s parts per million of CO2, so zero doesn't exist. We always have CO2 outside, and because of that, we'll have it indoors. But we really shouldn't be more than a couple of hundred parts per million higher. Once we get to that 800,000 or more, that's when we get severe indoor air quality issues. So a very, very cheap, well, actually free hack is to not quite lock a window or not quite lock a door. Not that, somebody can break in or anything like that. There are ways to jimmy the windows and doors so that doesn't happen, but just allow a little bit of airflow in will make a massive difference to your indoor air quality, to how you feel, how you enjoy your home, your apartment, your condo, even in offices you could do this. Thank you for joining my episode of You Are What You Inhale on the new podcast, and be well.